And welcome back to another video. I am Louise and this is my assistant dog Leo, and I am currently at the end of my second year of university. I am studying to be a primary school teacher. So I thought I would make this video since watching videos like this was really helpful for me when I was first looking to go to university, especially since I didn't know what it would be like going with a service dog. I also just want to note that I live in Australia. I go to a university here, so things may be a bit different depending on what country you're from, whether you're going to college, if you're going to different universities. So I just wanted to note that. So when I got accepted into my degree, I started talking to disability services at my university. I actually applied for 2 different universities, so I have some very different experiences from those 2. I was also applying for on-campus accommodation since the universities weren't in my hometown, so that was a whole process. The first university that I applied for was in a more country sort of area, and I don't think they had a lot of experience with assistance dogs. I was sending emails back and forth for months trying to get it all sorted to bring Leo with me and get him cleared for accommodation. When you're trying to get your service dog or your assistance dog approved for accommodation or to bring with you onto campus, you'll have to provide proof of training. Now, for me, this came in the form of a letter from my trainer. With the first university that I applied for, there seemed to be a lot of confusion around Leo and assistance dogs. The support services that I was talking to, they wanted to contact my trainer. They were asking kind of weird questions about whether he was okay to be around food, which was sort of weird because it was like assistance dogs are trained to ignore food distractions and things like that. So it seemed they didn't really know a whole lot about assistance dogs. Second university that I applied for, I already knew that they had experience with assistance dogs. When I applied for accommodation there was a box that you could tick that said you had a disability, and then a form that you could fill out with lists of accommodations that you might need, and that's where you had to provide proof of disability and of training of your assistance dog. So I had doctor's notes for my disability, and I had training records or letter from my trainer for Leo. It was pretty simple from there. I had a call from support services and they had a building picked out that they usually put people with disabilities who had assistance dogs in. So I got slotted into that building and that was about it. So I ended up going with the second option for my university choice. I could really see issues popping up with the first university, and I just didn't want to have to constantly fight to be able to bring Leo with me. So unfortunately that is something you might have to consider when you're looking at universities, how accessible they are and how accepting they are of assistance dogs. Once I moved in, I had a meeting with support services and we put together a bit of a plan for me and my accommodation needs, accessibility needs. Everyone at my university with a disability could get a plan that helped with accommodations and accessibility. So on my plan, it says that I have Leo, that he's an assistance dog, and that I'm allowed to bring him to classes and to exams, things like that. Every university is a little bit different, but it's pretty common to have a plan that has your accommodations and your accessibility needs. At my university, my plan is sent out to my tutors, my course coordinators, so they can help me get my accommodations and my accessibility needs met. It also has been helpful to have proof if you are trying to get an adjustment for, say, an exam or get an extension on assessments. So I was placed in a building that had a lot of accessibility features, which was really great. The day that I moved in was actually really hot. It was the middle of summer. So that was a bit of a challenge. I have a video that I did moving in, which you can watch, but I had a lot of help from my parents. And we kind of just worked around keeping Leo out of the sun and keeping him hydrated, keeping him cool. It was really one of those times where sometimes the best thing you can do is just stay out of the way. I had a resident mentor while I was living on campus, which was a student of the university who'd been going there for a year or more, who helped you out. When I first moved in, I had a conversation with him. I talked about Leo and how if he was in his vest, he was working. And then my resident mentor talked to all the other people in my building, and that was really helpful. So everyone was aware of Leo and they knew not to distract him. They weren't surprised when we came around the corner, so that was really good. While I was living on campus, there were these grassy areas around my building, so I could take Leo to the toilet every morning and evening and for walks in between. And this became part of our routine. We would get up in the morning, first thing he would get fed, and we would go out to the bathroom, then go toilet. Every night I would take him out to the toilet before I went to bed. One challenge with living on campus was the fire alarms. So a fair few times they would go off in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, and we would all have to evacuate. So I tended to bring Leo out and just go off to the side, so that we could be in a quiet area where he wouldn't get too overwhelmed. By the end of the year, we had gotten pretty used to it, so he wasn't too worried about the alarms going off and everybody moving around. But I kept a leash on the hook of my door, so that it was very easy to get to his leash if we had to leave in a hurry, and that was really helpful. Actually going to classes. As I mentioned before, I had a plan that had adjustments and accommodations set in place for me that included having Leo be allowed to come with me into classes and exams. Luckily in my degree, I haven't had to go into sterile environments, which you would see more in a medical degree, or if you're in laboratories. I haven't had to deal with that as much, so I haven't had to go into that area where dogs may not be allowed, or there may be extra precautions. At the start of each semester, I emailed my tutors, or my teachers that I would have, just to let them know that I would have Leo with me, just so there wasn't any surprises and they were all aware of what was going on. Most of my teachers have been pretty good around Leo. They mostly just ignore him, but some of them have talked to him, which can be a little bit uncomfortable when you have to advocate for yourself and say, hey, please don't talk to my dog. I did also find it a little bit difficult with other students. You had some people who knew the rules around service dogs and knew not to interact with Leo, not to distract him. You had other ones who maybe weren't familiar with assistance dogs and would be talking to him. It was quite distracting for Leo when people talk to him. He loves to meet new people, so I have had to get better at advocating for myself. I have also had experiences on the total opposite side of the spectrum where people have avoided us and not talked to us. I had this one experience that I will forever remember, that felt a bit like a movie, where I walked into a room and a whole group of people, everyone in the room, stopped talking and stared at us, and then proceeded to not talk to us at all as we went and hid in the corner. But I would definitely say stick with it, because I've also found some really amazing friends going to university who have respected Leo and who help me advocate for him. So you really can find some amazing people, but it can be a little bit awkward at first. And I thought I would just share some tips. I've been going to uni for 2 years now, so I have learned a few things that have made my life a bit easier. I'll first talk about the training that might be helpful. So long downstays is one thing. A lot of the time you're going to be in lectures or in classes, and you'll just need your dog to be able to settle and lie down, maybe go to sleep. That's what Leo does for most of my classes. Working in crowds is another thing, ignoring people, tucking out of the way, so that might be under chairs or it might be in corners. It's hard to know what sort of classroom you're going to be in, whether you'll have a lot of space or whether you can be off to one corner and have your dog spread out a bit more. Before I started all of my first classes, I went and found my classrooms beforehand so that I wasn't rushing around on the day. It might also be helpful to find toilet areas for your dog, places to rest, places to have a drink, places where you can have some quiet time or let your dog off duty and play. In my uni bag, I always keep backup treats and a backup meal for Leo, just in case something were to happen, if I ran out of treats or we had to stay late for some reason. And along those lines, think about what you specifically might need with your dog. Whether that be a placemat, a blanket for them to lie on, an extra water bowl, a pop-up water bowl, boots if you're in a place that gets really hot or a place that gets really cold and has ice, cooling mats, rain jacket. I would definitely say it's best to get in early with your support network, whether that's accessibility services, whatever that means for you at your university. It can be with these things wait lists, so it's good to get in early and make sure that you're covered with that sort of thing. And managing your schedule. So this might be something that you need to be aware if your dog needs breaks, so maybe you don't have a full day of back-to-back classes. I usually only put a couple classes on each day, and I try to be aware of when I'll need breaks. And I've also found that early mornings just don't work for me with my energy levels and my sleep needs. So that's one of the things that you'll have to experiment with. And this is one of the areas where you might be able to get help from your support services. I've had to change classes a few times, and luckily they've been able to give me priority placement into classes and help with changing my timetable mid-semester. I would definitely say utilize your support services when you can. I've definitely found that they've been really helpful getting extensions on things, getting accommodations where I need them. Anytime I have issues with teachers or different problems pop up, they've been really helpful. So definitely make the most of the support services that you have available to you. Okay, I think I'm going to end the video there. If you have any more questions about going to university with a service dog, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments and I will answer what I can to the best of my ability. Alrighty, I hope you have a great day and I will see you next time. Bye!